I heard the noise of tyres on the rumble strip of the hard shoulder. All I did was press myself up against this van, literally as flat as I could, and I shut my eyes.
What is your worst or most interesting breakdown experience?
Shall I start?
Go on then.
So I've not actually had many breakdowns, which is very, very lucky because until this year, I've never had any breakdown cover.
Yeah, your version of breakdown cover has been
Friends.
Instagram.
Yeah.
I've broken down here. Someone please help me.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it was year before last, still working with Car Throttle, and we did a shoot. Was it something like slow driver, fast car versus fast driver, slow car, something like that?
Yeah.
That was at Kerborough. So yeah, smashed the car around. Lovely, lovely. On my way home, I drove over some big shard of metal that was on the M40 or M6 or something. I think it was M6 because I was still quite high up. I was like, oh, that's probably going to go quite badly. And then a few seconds later, it was like, dog, 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 dog. And yeah, the tyre just blew out and I just went straight on the hard shoulder. And I was like, had I put a spare wheel in, which there were many at Kerborough because I actually took them out to be faster around the track and then I just left it there.
Brilliant.
Had I had that, I'd be able to carry on going. Also, if I had any breakdown, I'd be all right. Because you used to work for the AA. It only takes you about 10 hours to get to you.
I was a very, very fast AA man.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. And I was like, I have kind of screwed myself over here because I have none of those things. And what do I do? So I was like, okay, I'm very influential. I'm an international man of mystery. People follow me. Yeah?
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to get on Instagram and I'm going to ask if anyone in the local area can help me. And then some people were like, yeah, I can help you. And then someone messaged and said, I'm not too far away. I'm going to give you a hand. I was like, fantastic. How long are you going to be? 20 minutes. Fantastic. And 20 minutes came and went. I was like, maybe he's a bit lost. And then I was like, well, what's happening? He's like, yeah, I'm on my way. And I think he sent me a little maps screenshot or something. I was like, oh, he's definitely on his way.
Yeah.
Anyway, 2 hours later, I realized that I was being pranked and he just completely ignores me.
Right, so another update for you. I think I've been shafted. What should have been a 27-minute journey for Tom has now taken nearly an hour. So I think he's had a laugh. So now I need to find a recovery truck. My life.
So after that, you must have been like, you know what, I should probably buy breakdown cover, because obviously that would have been like your wake up call to go, you know, sometimes
I left it 3 years.
yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But I was on the side of the M6. It was dark. It was pissing it down with rain. And if you have a look through the stories, I actually descended into complete madness. I was screaming. It was quite fun in a weird kind of way. And then I had to phone a recovery truck, and then he took me to a local petrol station. And then another lad from the Midlands came with a spare wheel. One of his wheels, actually, for an MX-5. And he said, take it for as long as you need. Really lovely chap. And I just borrowed his wheel for like a couple of weeks.
So I'm going to carry on with the breakdown stories from here, because mine relates to this car as well.
Is that the car I sold you?
Yes.
Oh.
So my breakdown story is 2 breakdowns in one night.
Oh,
Brilliant.
This sounds juicy.
So me and my mate headed up to London, to Alex's house, to go buy the S600 Mega Spec.
S500.
Mega
Spec.
And that MX-5.
The aforementioned MX-5.
We got there quite late at night and we set off. And then I would say about half an hour down the road, got onto the M40. The MX-5 just cuts out.
So what was wrong with it?
So the alternator had gone.
Oh, okay.
Was there no battery light?
No, just literally just cut off though.
Oh.
Yeah. So and it was on the side of the road. I had no hazard lights, no nothing. And
Oh,
I was
dear.
like, this is a bit dangerous, isn't it? My mate was there with Mega Spec and we were like sitting there going, what do we do here? I phoned up the AA because I actually had breakdown cover.
Yeah.
And this was the night when there was loads of flooding and there was loads of something. So I phoned them up and they were like, how long's the wait? 8 hours.
That's quite a long time.
Yeah. So I decided to do the irresponsible thing and just leave the car there.
On the side of the motorway?
Yeah, I just left it on the side of the motorway.
With no lights?
Yeah, because Beaconsfield Services was only 2 miles up the road.
Oh,
so
brilliant.
I went to Beaconsfield Services and I
Oh,
was
so
like...
you were that close? You were less than 20 minutes away from me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it literally went pretty much instantly.
Ah, right.
I remember phoning up Alex and he was like, oh, yeah, nothing happened with me.
Yeah.
it was
I mean, what do you want me to do?
Did you not even offer to go and tow him?
No, apparently not.
No.
No.
Brilliant.
Next thing you know, I'll get a tap on the shoulder from Highways police or highways officers or whatever.
So at this point, you are in the service.
I'm in the service station. And somehow highways tapped me on the shoulder. No, it was me that was driving that car. And they've gone, have you just left an MX-5 on the side of the road? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, you can't do that. And I was like, oh, okay. Do you want me to go back? And they were like, you can't. It's not there anymore. And I was like, why? And they were like, we've had to take it off because it was it was a hazard.
So did you leave it unlocked?
I left it unlocked, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I explained that they said 8 hours and they were like, well, that's not on. So anyway, they took it back to their compound and the AA had to pick it up later at a later date.
And they paid for it.
And they paid for everything.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, because the AA was at fault there.
Yeah.
So anyway, we carried on our journey in Megaspec. 40 minutes later, Megaspec starts experiencing some issues as well. Same night. Megaspec gets locked into third gear.
It's a good gear to be locked in, though, because you can do everything.
Third gear was screaming at 60 miles an hour in Megaspec, quite surprisingly, actually.
Yeah.
So much so that we started off with a 3/4 of a tank. After 40 minutes, we had no fuel left.
Oh, my goodness.
So anyway, we stop at Warwick services, fill up with fuel again, and at this point, it just won't go into gear at all. So we put it into neutral, and then we roll it off to the car park behind at the service station, and then wait for AA. And again, 8 hours.
Oh.
Are you having a good evening at this point?
I'm having an amazing evening.
A fantastic.
Well, he's sat down. He's had his KFC.
Exactly. He's come to
had a
meet
great
me.
evening. He's got a
bought
free
2 cars.
recovery.
Yeah.
Oh,
Meet
brilliant.
you. I already worked with you at this point.
Yeah, but you get to meet me outside working
for
hours,
God's sake.
and that's special for you.
So the only advantage was that we filled this up with a full tank. And me and my mate were like, might as well just leave it on. So for 8 hours, we just had the car running.
You actually sat there for 8 hours?
Yeah, we had to wait 8 hours. I got collected at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Rory is also the king at wasting fuel. Have you noticed?
Oh, yeah, he
He
loves leaving the
always
car
just has a
idling,
car
yeah.
running. It's
Always.
terrible. Yeah. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Tyre Streets UK, where you can get 10% off your tyre order using the code Autoalex. We all have Tyre Streets UK tyres on our cars, and you should too. Autoalex for 10% off.
All right.
What about you, Taylor?
Yeah, let's go on to Mr. AA himself.
I've had all sorts of breakdowns.
Wait,
some of them very funny, some of them very upsetting.
Hmm.
The worst one of all was probably the one
Minge.
where I got quite scared. I attended a breakdown on the M25 just outside of the Holmesdale Tunnel,
Yeah.
which is a tunnel by Waltham Abbey,
Yeah.
junction 26. And it's quite notoriously a dangerous tunnel. There's quite a lot of crashes in there. And if you look up the walls, there's always loads of black lines and scratches all up the walls where everyone seems to just crash into it.
Yeah.
And it was, I had attended a breakdown on a Vauxhall Vivaro van just outside of the tunnel.
Yeah.
So I turned up, pulled up behind it, safe distance behind it, yellow flashing lights on,
Yeah.
hazards on, wheels facing in, blah, blah. It had a puncture on the offside. So on the side with the traffic.
Yeah.
So I got in it and moved the van forward and towards the hard shoulder a bit more, just so I had a bit more space. So I went back to my van, got my jack out, started jacking the van up, the van that had broken down, with the puncture. And whenever I jack a car up, changing a wheel on the traffic side, I always do it at an angle where I'm jacking the van, like I'm jacking the vehicle up and I'm looking at the traffic so I can see if there's anything coming. Obviously, there's a brief moment where you have to line the jack up underneath the vehicle so you jack it up in the right place where you're not looking at the traffic. Mm-hmm. I remember putting the jack under, lining it up with the jacking point, pumped it up, and just as it came into contact with the van and it started lifting it off the ground, I heard the noise of tyres on the rumble strip of the hard shoulder.
Jeez.
And I remember looking up and there was a lorry that had drifted into the hard shoulder.
Holy shit.
And as it done that, all I did was press myself up against this van, literally as flat as I could, and I shut my eyes.
Oh my God.
Genuinely shut my eyes. And the wind from this lorry, it must have been so close. I can't tell you how close it was
Holy
to me.
shit.
It wasn't obviously close enough to hit me, and it wasn't close enough to hit the jack handle of my jack, but it was very, very close.
Yeah.
It was over the line.
Yeah.
And the wind from this lorry was so strong, it genuinely nearly swept me off my feet.
Bloody hell.
I had to grab the rear light of this van. And then, I'll be honest, I had a bit of an anxiety attack.
Really?
I had a bit of a panic attack. I went to the back of my van and I just I was a bit embarrassed, like, because I didn't want to make out like being dramatic to the.
Did the van owner see what happened as well?
I don't know. I didn't ask, and he didn't say anything. But I just sort of went to the back of my van, I opened my sliding door, and I just sort of put my head in the van for a moment, just leant in the back of the van and just took a breather.
Yeah.
And then I went back out and finished it off. I was like probably like 5 minutes in the back of the van. He was probably thinking, what's this guy doing? Is he having a sandwich or something? As I say, I don't know how close the lorry was, but it was terrifying.
It was close enough to shit you up properly.
It was very terrifying. Yeah, it was.
And how far into your AA career was that?
I'd say probably a year.
Okay. And how long did you do the AA?
Just over 2 years, about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So, but I hadn't done that many motorway breakdowns at that point.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
I bet everyone dreads doing those, right?
Yeah, they do. And I used to work a lot out in the countryside in like rural Hertfordshire and rural Essex as well. So I didn't actually spend much time on the M25. But as I say, I have had a lot of breakdowns, some of them quite funny.
Yeah.
But
some of them on film.
So some of them on film.
All of it, yeah. Bloody hell, you can't stop breaking down, can you?
Yeah. I tend to find probably, so with exception of my Mini breaking down, and when my E36 M3 blew up, they've always been quite funny. So I had a fairly funny one once. It was in the middle of the summer, and I was at my old unit. Do you remember my first unit?
Oh yeah, the little one. Yeah,
filmed
yeah.
the 6 Series video. At the time, I had a Land Rover Discovery 2 TD5.
Yeah,
and I loved it. It was great. It was my tow vehicle. Yeah.
Great engine.
I left the unit quite late one night because I was working quite late. It must have been about 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah. I
left the unit and I thought, it's, the needle's not right at the bottom, but it's low, the light's on, I need to go and fill up. So I started driving towards the local BP, which was probably 15, 20 minutes up the road.
Okay, so quite a distance.
Quite a distance, yeah. So I drove down the country lane, blah, blah, and I literally got into town. When you get into Buntingford town, you go left at this mini roundabout and then about half a mile up the road, there's a BP garage.
Yeah.
I got to this mini roundabout and it cut out. And I was like, what do I do here? And I knew it'd run out of fuel. Like, 'cause obviously it's turning over, nothing happening. I rung a mate of mine and he was like, I'm really sorry to hear that. I'm at dinner at the moment. Like, blah, blah. Oh no, what was it? He just
dinner at midnight?
No, he was like, I've just got home. I'm with my girlfriend. I'm just having a bit of dinner. I'm going to go to bed, blah, blah. Which is sort of fair enough. Yeah. But when your mate's broken down, usually you go out and give him a hand.
Well, it depends what he's doing with his girlfriend.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. Probably slinging around the room.
He might be giving her a hand.
But yeah, and like no one else was really awake or available or whatever. So I thought, it's quite a nice evening. I'll just walk. 2.5 hours later, I was nearly back at the unit. It took me about 2 hours and 45 minutes to walk all the way back to the unit.
Oh, bloody hell.
So
would it not have been quicker to walk to the petrol station?
It would have been, but I didn't have any cans.
Yes, but you can buy cans.
I didn't want to buy them because I had about 10 of them at the unit.
Okay.
Because this had happened previously. I kept buying jerry cans and they're like 17 quid a go.
Oh, God.
And also, the other reason that I didn't walk to the petrol station is because I knew the Land Rover wouldn't start on one jerry can.
Really?
I needed to put 2 jerry cans.
Bloody
in,
hell.
yeah. So anyway, I went back to the unit, got 2 10-litre jerry cans because I had 2 big ones. I got in my Renault Clio 182 and I drove it to the BP, filled up these cans and then went back to the Land Rover and poured it in the Land Rover. And I remember I had my little orange funnel and I was leant up against the back of the Land Rover pouring it in and I looked to my left and I just remember glancing through the rear window of the Land Rover and I saw a handlebar and my bike was in the back of the car.
Was it? Oh,
my
no.
God. I could have just ridden it back.
Oh, bloody hell.
And I didn't realise. So, and I just looked and I thought, oh my God.
How do you forget you've got a bicycle in the back?
I genuinely don't know. So
More to the point, you had a form of exercise?
I know.
Yeah. So I finished pouring the fuel in the Land Rover, started it up, but it took quite a while to turn over because obviously it had run out of fuel.
Yeah.
It was just going nunny, 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 nunny. And just before the battery was about to die, it fired up.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, thank God. So I thought, well, if I turn it off now, it probably won't start again. So I'll drive the Land Rover back to the unit with the bike in it, ride the bike back to the Clio, and then drive the Clio back to the unit. So I did that. I drove the Land Rover back to the unit, and then I rode the bike back to the Land Rover.
Yeah.
It took me about another hour.
Yeah, what time are we on now?
We're at this point, it's
Is it
about
getting
3
light?
o'clock in the morning. Yeah, genuinely. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning. Rode it all the way back to the Clio, and then went to put the bike in the back and the bike wouldn't fit. Because I had it's called a K brace in the back of the Clio. I had no rear seats, but it had this
for crying out loud,
strengthening bar in the back, and I couldn't get it in. So I was like, oh, bugger this. So I drove the Clio back to the unit with the boot open and the bike half hanging out of the boot. And I got back to the unit and I was like, I was so tired. So I just chucked the bike in the unit and I drove the Clio home. I thought I'll just screw the Land Rover. The Clio. I think I ended up getting home at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God.
Oh, bloody hell. We've all had some fun with breakdowns.
It was quite fun. It was just when I saw the bike, I was like, oh my God.
You muppet.
What a muppet.
Yeah.